Okay, so I'm sitting here reading this article right here, okay? Because I've been checking back and forth on the news as far as the Senate seats. Because I made a prediction earlier about Donald Trump's White House and what it's going to look like. But then I came across this article. It says the 4B movement, aka women refusing to have SCX, marry, or birth children with men, is going viral for obvious reasons. What are those obvious reasons? Um, I mean, it's interesting that you're choosing to say this week twice impeached convicted felon. So it's like you're choosing to identify him with an honorable description before calling his name. So this is being negative right here. Um, okay, so I'm going to ignore this, what they have here. So President Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election, leaving women nationwide distraught about the future of abortion care, birth control, IVF, and so much more. Um, Let me just say that birth control, IVF, birth control can be done by you completely. Birth control can be done by a woman not doing anything, choosing not to do anything. That's the first method of birth control, not doing anything. Um, but then in situations like unconsensual sex, that may be a problem. IVF is very suspicious to me. This is not something that I would ever do, but this sounds suspicious to me. I don't know enough about it to speak on it, but it's one of those things where I'd rather nature take its course, if you will. Um, and but if this is something that someone's interested in doing with their body, nobody should have the right to tell them what to do with their body. If this is something they want to do, they should be allowed to do that. The same with abortion. If this is something this person wants to do, they should be allowed to do it. They're the ones who are going to have to deal with whatever comes about from that. They're the ones that have to deal with that. I mean, if that's something that they want to do for their reasons, who are we to tell them, no, you can't do that? No, that's their body. That's their situation. But it goes down further to say, um, of course, they're talking about how 55% of men voted for Donald Trump. And they had to point out when Donald Trump bragged about helping overturn Roe v. Wade. Also, throw something else negative out here about him being liable for sexual abuse. So it's clear to me they really don't have any respect for this president. That's what I hear, and that's what I'm reading. That they really don't have any respect for him, even though he just won the election and is now their future president. They don't have any respect for him. And they go on to say how he said he would protect women whether they like it or not. And unless you sit down with Trump and you have a conversation with him to get an understanding for what this was about. Matter of fact, let's read this real quick. Okay. Trump says, whether the women like it or not, I'm going to protect them. It says, former President Donald Trump said Wednesday at a campaign rally that whether the women like it or not, he will protect them, noting that his advisors had instructed him not to use the line, which he said they deemed inappropriate. Did it ever occur to anybody that what President Trump understood that to mean when he said it? He understood what he meant when he said that. Just because you didn't understand what he meant when he said that doesn't mean that it's inappropriate. Because in his mind, what he meant by it may have been appropriate. You just don't know what that is. You just didn't want him to say it. Donald Trump has a way of saying true things in an unconventional way. That's what I've noticed about him. They said Trump tried to hammer the Biden-Harris administration on immigration, saying they had imported criminal migrants to enter the country and to assault, rape, and murder our women and girls. He then added that anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office. Now, what I would say about this is that he was telling, in my opinion, he was giving you information, or he was telling you about information that he has about these matters. And nobody was listening to what he was saying. Now take what I'm saying and think about Allie Carter. That's what I'm telling you. She has been saying the same thing for years, even before Joe Biden got elected. So I'm just I just wanted to note that similarity in situations that President Trump was saying, and Allie Carter saying the same thing down here. And I noted in my other video that when the vice president gave her little speech the other day, she said nothing about what she was fighting, what they were continuing to fight for, other than the general explanation she was given. She didn't go into detail about anything. She definitely didn't mention anything about the children. Most times she referred to them as young people. Young people consist of young adults as well. But young people include children. But she does not call them children. She says young people, because that's all inclusive of young adults as well. Teenagers and children. She didn't say anything about trafficking. She didn't say anything about anything like that. But interesting how President Trump says something about that, and they're throwing shade on it. Like it's not something you should consider as relevant or factual or of importance. That's what the Democrats did. The former president then described how he would protect women, though he noted that his team had urged him against using this line. If that's what he meant, why can't he say that? If that's what he meant, he can't say that. Why? I mean, I don't understand why he can't say that. What is wrong with the president saying that he would protect women, whether they like it or not? Y'all have to understand. If a man has in his mind that there are things that could cause danger or threat to their woman or their girls or their children, he's going to do what he needs to do to protect them, even if he don't tell her or the children why. In his mind, he knows he has to protect them, even if they don't know why. So is the negative rhetoric behind what he said because he's in the public with it and it's not so private or personal? Is it because he's talking about all the women in America instead of the women in his home? Is it because he's talking about all the children in America or and everywhere else, not just in the home? It's like he was telling us without telling us. You just had to know what to listen for. Because if you don't know to listen for this stuff, you're not listening for this. And you'll believe whatever becomes, whatever side is influencing you, you'll believe whatever comes out in the media about it. He said, my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I would say no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women, Trump said, describing how his advisor said it would be very inappropriate for him to say. And I'm trying to figure out, why is it so inappropriate for him to say he wants to protect the women of this country? He's a man, right? He's thinking like a man. This is how a man thinks. I don't understand why there's so much objection in that. I think because of the narratives that have been spun behind President Trump, people have a negative view of him. So it's like, if you already have this view of him and he says something like that, you're not going to want that kind of support from somebody that you think negatively of. If you think negatively of him. But nobody can say but President Trump what he meant by that statement. Only he knows what he meant by that statement. But it's easy for you to get caught up in the drama of information floating out there. Especially all these people who watch these so-called politically correct or office-friendly these controlled media outlets. They would say something like that it would be inappropriate to say. And then Trump says, I said, well, I'm going to do it, whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them, Trump said. I mean, outside of the negative bullshit that you've had to hear all this time, do we know of anything that he's done to, besides what when he had a potty mouth and when he, had his little affair with another woman besides his wife? Do y'all know a reason why y'all would think that Trump was being sarcastic, or he had a different meaning for him wanting to protect women? I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, people gonna have their own opinions, I guess, but she was planting a seed when she said that. So when former Republican Representative Liz Cheney, who appeared on the Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on Sunday, urged women to vote your conscience in the 2024 presidential election, even if it's not the way the men in your lives think they should vote. That could be her planting a seed. It could be. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. Even though you should use your own brain when you vote, I would think that you and your husband understand each other well enough that you vote the same. But I mean, why would you have? That's interesting to have a household where the father votes one way and the mother votes another way. I mean, don't they share insurance claims? Don't they share information for medical purposes and payments and stuff like that? Wouldn't you think that this would be something that a couple considers together? Why would I be willing to vote differently than what our lifestyles support? That's interesting, because couples do things together. That's interesting. She said, you should do what you think is right, Cheney said. And I think you're going to have, frankly, a lot of men and women who will go into the voting booth and will vote their conscience and will vote for Vice President Harris. Yeah, I mean, I feel like these statements are like planting seeds. They can be taken that way, because I'm telling you, they can be taken that way. Like they're planting seeds in people's heads, almost like, interesting. She said, you should do what you think is right. And then she says, and I think you're going to have, frankly, a lot of men and women who will go into the voting booth and will vote their conscience and will vote for Vice President Harris. So first you say you should do what you think is right. And then you say, and I think you're going to have. I think you are going to have a lot of men and women who will go into the voting booth and will vote their conscience and will vote for Vice President Harris. So basically, Liz Cheney was saying that as far as the people who voted, she was saying you should do what you think is right. So she leads with that, as if she's putting the power in your hands. Of course, the power is in your hands, right? But then she follows with, and I think you're going to have a lot of men and women who will go into the voting booth and will vote their conscience, which is what they think, and will vote for Vice President Harris. And then she says they may not ever say anything publicly, but the results will speak for themselves. Interesting. People carefully choose what they say before they say it. Trust me, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But let me go back to what I was talking about. So I was talking about, okay, um, it says his win sparked fear and outrage from women online. Remember, I told you there was a lot of negative rhetoric out there behind the Democrats during this election about President Trump and his relationships to women, his communication toward women. One person said all the men on the TL joking lightheartedly about the election and all the women actually being scared and nauseous. What in the dystopia? I honestly don't feel comfortable bringing a child into this world. I've seen everything that I need to see, and it is enough. I feel like over half of America just told women that their lives are less important than the cost of eggs and gas. So that's not how I took it. But if that's how you took it, okay, I understand. But that's not how I took it. I'm not going to put the mindset or the framework of an administration and what they've